This video will review how to make a 3D flower. I've already released a video on how to make a 5-pointed flower, which is 2-dimensional. In this video, I'm going to go over how to create the center of the flower to make the 5-pointed flower a 3-dimensional flower. The screen displays the materials you'll need for this pattern. Some yarn, a crochet hook, scissors, and an embroidery needle to sew the ends together. We are going to work the center of the flower in rows. As you can see on the screen with the pattern finished but before it is sewn together, we're going to work up and down the center. We'll create single crochets on one side, double crochets on the other side, and we'll make these little ridges with chain 3s. So take a look down below at the pattern if you would like to follow along. Let's begin the pattern by chaining 4. That finishes the foundation chain. And to begin row 1, we are going to chain 1. And in the second chain from the hook, we're going to do a single crochet, and then we'll single crochet into the next chain. And in the next 2 chains, we're going to do 1 double crochet. And that concludes row 1. So we'll turn our work and begin round 2 by chaining 3. And this chain 3 will appear as a ruffle in the center of our flower. Now the pattern for row 2 is we will do a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and a single crochet in the next 2 single crochets. And that finishes row 2. So we're going to turn our work and begin to notice that at the bottom or the very center of the flower, it is shorter, and the top part of the center where the double crochets are bigger. So now we've gotten to the asterisks. So we're going to repeat rows 3 and 4 a few times. We're going to begin by chaining 1. We will do a single crochet in the 2 single crochets, a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, turn our work at the end of the row, and then to begin row 4, we chain 3 and do a double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and a single crochet in the next 2 single crochets. And then our pattern, we're going to repeat rows 3 and 4 2 more times. Once you've finished the crochet part of the pattern, you should have 2 tails, the one you started with and the one you finished with, and leaving about 6 to 12 inches of tail. We are going to sew the pattern together, and we're going to use a ladder stitch to sew the pattern along the center and then up and down the 2 sides. To work the ladder stitch along the center, you can attach your embroidery needle to the yarn, and then you're going to go along the top of the single crochets or the chain ones, and just put it in where you feel it should go, as long as it's right along the edge. It'll help the center come together. Once you've gotten to the other side, you can pull it taut and secure it back where you started. So when you finish the center, that center should be small. And now we're going to sew along the edges. Let's take a look at the 2 edges before we sew them together. So you should see on both sides that there are a front and back loops, and there should be 4 of them. Remembering that we have the chain 3, so one side will sit a little higher than the other, and to help us align them up, you can start at the top, and then these 4 will go together, these 4 all the way down. So I'm going to use a paper clip to hold together the 3rd and the 4th, and then I'll start my ladder stitch. So working the inside of the stitches again, you want to go into the center of those 2 loops, to one side and then the other. Again, getting just the inside of the loops. Here we are at the paper clip. I'm going to leave it there until I come back the other way. And then I'm going to work the ladder stitch getting the outer part of the loop. I'm going to go where the paper clip is, and then I'll move it. So you get the outer loop of both sides. I'll get rid of the paper clip, and I'll have to do the ladder stitch in the last 2. And finally, the last one here. So by working the ladder stitch in the inner and the outer part, it helps eliminate having a ridge where the 2 sides are close together. So now I have some extra yarn, and I'm going to use it to attach it to the 5-pointed flower. If you look at the 5-pointed flower from the previous video, you will see that that foundation ring is where we want to sew into. So now that we have the embroidery still on there, I'm going to go actually into the center and then up through the foundation ring. And I will get close to the center then I'm going to go back into the center of the yellow and the purple, And then again, working into the foundation ring, because that'll kind of hide the strands of yarn. And back into the center. Working into the next part of the foundation ring. I'm going to do it 2 more times. Of course, you can sew it through more. And you can finish sewing, and then we'll take a look at our finished product. So you want to sew until all of your ends are hidden, and then you can cut off your loose ends. And that concludes our pattern. Thanks for joining on how to make the 5-pointed flower 3D.